On the 30th of June, a brand posted a photograph of a jar of honey, lavender honey, $28, a floral gift of summer, the caption said. And on almost any other week, that would be nothing at all. But look at the calendar around it, because that same week, the entire British press was consumed by one question. Would Prince Harry come home, and would the state protect his family? If he did. His wife had gone quiet for weeks, and then she spoke. Not about the trip, not about her husband, about honey, a jar of honey, not a word about him. So the question I want to sit with today is a simple one. Why that? And why then? Here is what this episode is, and what it is not. The act is on the record. The honey launch is dated, and the words are quoted. The security story around it is documented too. What I am going to do is read the timing, the wording, and the choices beside that act. And then I will offer you the reading I keep coming back to. But I will tell you plainly every step of the way which parts are fact and which part is mine. Let me set the scene, because the scene is the whole story. For a few years now, Meghan has been building a lifestyle brand. It started as American Riviera Orchard. It became As Ever. And through it, she has sold jam, tea, wildflower honey, orange blossom honey, a leather bookmark that sold out in minutes. This is her lane now. Product drops, soft photographs, a certain gentle language. You know the register, if you have seen any of it. Warm, curated, calm. Nothing sharp, nothing political, nothing that mentions the family she married into. That is by design, and it usually works. And if you are old enough to remember how this family used to communicate, you will recognize the technique. You lived through years of it. A photograph placed just so. An outfit chosen to send a message no press officer would ever confirm. A silence held at exactly the right moment. This audience has watched royal messages travel through small, deliberate choices for 40 years. A jar of honey on a hard week is just the newest version of a very old language. And this is not the first time a launch has landed on a loud week. Look at the pattern on the record. The bookmark she designed herself back in January sold out in minutes, in the middle of a broader reset of her business and her foundation. The honey line kept growing jar by jar through every news cycle about the couple. Orange blossom, wildflower, sage, now lavender. The brand does not go quiet when the family is in the papers. If anything, it seems to find its voice right about then. I am not telling you that is a plan. I am telling you it is a pattern you can see with your own eyes on the public timeline. Keep it in mind, because a pattern is just a tell that has happened more than once. Now bring in the other story. The one that was actually dominating the headlines that week. Prince Harry had a trip to Britain planned. The dates were set, the 7th through the 11th of July, and there was a fight over security. When he and Meghan stepped back in 2020, his automatic protection was downgraded. Last year, he lost his court challenge over that. So the question hanging over this trip was heavy. Would the state guarantee the safety of him and his children on British soil? The reporting said no. And so, in the end, he came without his wife and without the children. That is the week. A husband deciding whether it is safe to bring his family home. A country arguing about it in every paper. And into that exact week drops a jar of lavender honey. A jar of honey, not a word about him. The date does not sit right. And that is where this stops being routine. Let me be careful and fair before I go further. There is a completely innocent version of this, and I want to give it its full weight. A business has a schedule. Honey is seasonal. Lavender in summer makes perfect sense. Product calendars are set weeks ahead by teams, and they do not always bend around the news. It is entirely possible that this launch was locked in long before anyone knew what the security story would look like. If that is true, then the timing is just an accident, and I am reading tea leaves. I hold that possibility open. I really do. But hold it beside the tells with me, and let us see if it survives. Tell number 1 is the timing itself, and it is sharper than just the week. This was, by the reporting, her first update on either her business or her personal account in recent weeks. Sit with that. She had been silent for weeks, through the build-up of the biggest story about her own household in months. And the thing that broke the silence was not a word about any of it. It was honey. Now, silence is a choice, and what you break a silence with is also a choice. Someone says nothing for weeks. Then the first thing they say is about a product. That tells you where they have decided the conversation should go, away from the thing everyone is asking about, toward the thing they can control. Tell number 2 is the wording, and this is the part I cannot walk past. Read the caption again. A floral gift of summer. Softly floral, with a delicate warmth that lingers beautifully. That is beautiful copy. It is also a fortress. There is not one word in it that can be connected to a husband, a trip, a court, a security ruling, a family. It is engineered to be about nothing but the honey. And here is the thing about language that careful. It does not happen by accident. When every single word is chosen to stay inside the walls of the brand, that is not a person casually posting. That is a person or a team making very sure the post says nothing that can be quoted against them. The softness is not softness. The softness is armor. Tell number 3 is the quietest one, and maybe the loudest. She is not in the pictures. The photographs were styled, careful, product forward, and she does not appear in them herself. Think about what that means for a woman whose entire brand is built on her own presence, her own taste, her own face. In the week her family is in the headlines, she chose to be present through her products and absent as a person. You can read that as modesty. You can read it as brand discipline. Or you can read it the way I keep reading it, as someone who wanted to speak without being seen, someone who wanted to put a thing into the world that week. While keeping her own face out of a story she did not want to be seen inside. So, there are the three tells. The timing that broke a long silence. The wording that mentions nothing. The absence of her own face. Now let me lay the candidate readings on the table because there is more than one, and an honest read weighs them. The first reading is the innocent one I already gave you. A product calendar that simply landed where it landed. Coincidence. If you believe the honey drop was scheduled weeks out and nobody moved it, this is your answer. And it is a fair one. The second reading is the commercial one. And it is colder. It says the timing was not avoided, it was used. When the news cycle is loud with your name, attention is cheap and everywhere. A brand can ride that wave without ever mentioning why the wave exists. In this reading, the security story is not a problem to root around. It is free publicity, and the honey is the thing being sold on the back of it. That does not require her to be cynical about her husband. It only requires a business to know when eyes are on it. The third reading is the one about control, and it is the one I keep coming back to. In this reading, the launch is not about money and not about coincidence. It is about narrative. It says something like this: a story about my family is being written by everyone else. So I will put my own thing into the world, on my own terms, in my own language. That way, at least one headline that week is the one I chose. Not the security, not the snub, the honey. It is a way of holding one small piece of the week that belongs to you. When the rest of it has been taken over by a story, you cannot win. I want to be honest about which of those I find hardest to dismiss. It is the third. And here is why. The pure coincidence reading struggles with the silence. If this were just a routine drop, why was it her first post in weeks, landing on exactly the hardest week? The pure commercial reading struggles with the wording. If she only wanted to ride the wave, a sharper, more topical post would have caught more of it. Instead, the language is sealed shut, mentioning nothing. That sealed shut quality is what points me toward control. This does not read like someone chasing the story. It reads like someone refusing to be only a character in it. But I will say it as plainly as I can. That is a reading. It is not a confession, and it is not a fact. I cannot see inside anyone's head. I can see the calendar, and I can see the words, and I can see who is and is not in the photograph. And when I put those three things together, the explanation that fits them with the least forcing is the one about control. You may weigh them differently. That is the whole point of doing it out loud. Before I land this, let me give the innocent reading one more moment because fairness demands it. It is genuinely possible her team scheduled this weeks out and simply did not blink when the news turned. Brands do that. Calendars are stubborn things, and a woman running a business is allowed to run it, even on a bad week for her husband. I am not calling that wrong. I am only saying that even the innocent version required someone to look at the week, see the storm, and decide to post anyway. That decision at least is real, and a decision is always a tell. Here is the shareable truth of the week, the one I would keep if I forgot the rest. Her husband was deciding whether it was safe to bring their children home, and her first public word in weeks was a jar of honey priced at $28 that said nothing about any of it. A jar of honey, not a word about him. Whatever the reason, that is the choice that was made, and the choice is the tell. Let me hand it back to you, because this audience has read people for a lot longer than I have. You have watched families send messages through what they do not say. You have seen someone go quiet and then speak about the small thing instead of the big one. So tell me, in the comments, which of the three readings fits the dates you just heard? The coincidence, the commercial wave, or the quiet grab for control of one headline in a week that belonged to someone else? There is a defensible case for more than one. I want to hear which one you would convict on and why. Subscribe to Royal Motive. We do not guess at what people are thinking. We read what they did and when they did it. And the next act already has a date on it.